This is the Megatherium. It's dragging the top of a tree down to the ground to feed. It stands to do it, hind legs planted firmly in the ground, and its tail braced behind it like a third leg. One forelimb is hooked over the bending branch, its claws curving back like sickles. Reared up like that, it stands close to 4 meters, more than twice the height of a person. It weighs about 4 tons, level with that of a bull elephant. And the closest thing to it alive today spends its whole life hanging in a tree, moving slowly enough for algae to grow in its fur. It really is a sloth. The giant cousin of the small animals dangling in the rainforest canopies of Central and South America right now, scaled up past the point of looking related. Megatherium americanum was roughly 10 times their size. A living 3-toed sloth weighs a few kilograms and fits in your arms. Its ancient relative weighed as much as the elephant pictured beside it. Somewhere across the last few million years, the slowest body plan in the Americas inflated into one of the heaviest land mammals that ever walked. Nothing about Megatherium was fragile. It roamed across the open country and woodland edges of southern South America. It cropped fibrous ground plants as readily as it stripped the crowns of trees. The treetop reach was a bonus for it, a way to pull in food nothing else could touch, in addition to everything it could already eat at ground level. A body that size needed to feed for much of the day, and the pampas gave it the room and the food to manage it. Walking was the problem its own anatomy set for it. The claws curving off its forelimbs were too long to fold flat against the ground, so it could never just set its hands down the way an elephant does. Instead, it rolled its weight onto the outer edges of its feet, claws curled up and away from the dirt. A modern anteater still walks the same way, at a sliver of the weight. 4 tons, picking its way forward on the sides of its feet. Upright, it had a reach nothing else in its world could match. Settling back onto that tail like a third leg, it could claw into the crown of a tree every other plant eater couldn't reach. For 200 years, that was the entire story of this animal. A towering browser hauling down foliage out of everyone's reach, harmless to anything that wasn't a leaf. Then, in 1996, 2 researchers in Montevideo took a hard look at the arm. A Megatherium forelimb looks built to swing fast and hit hard, quick to extend and most powerful at the very end of the motion. Hauling branches down is slow work that rewards brute strength, but the mechanics of its arm pointed towards speed. A limb that moves like that, tipped with claws like those, has an obvious use, but it isn't pruning trees. So Farinha and Blanco gave their 1996 paper a deliberately blunt title, Megatherium the Stabber. They put forward a hypothesis that turned the gentle giant inside out. That the largest plant eater on the pampas was driving those claws into living flesh, either killing outright or, more likely, barging smaller predators off their kills and cracking open armored glyptodonts to reach the meat inside. Isotopes settled most of the ambiguity. The carbon and nitrogen locked into Megatherium bone record the chemical trace of a lifetime of meals. When researchers finally read it, the answer came back, plant, no meat in the signal. Studies of the skull and bite agreed, a jaw built to crop and grind vegetation, badly underpowered for a predator that size. The reasoning was good, but it was shut down by better evidence. What's left of the stabber is smaller and stranger than a carnivore the size of a car. We still can't fully explain why a 4-ton leaf eater carried an arm tuned to strike that fast. The claws were real, but what they were for is still unsettled. Whatever the claws were for, almost nothing could threaten the animal using them. Ice Age, South America was an island continent. cut off from the rest of the world for millions of years and stocked with creatures found nowhere else. Car-sized glyptodonts, ground sloths in every size class, hoofed grazers with no living counterpart, and predators all its own. None of them troubled a healthy adult Megatherium. A saber-toothed cat might pull down a juvenile or a dying one, but a grown one, reared up with those claws, sat above the food chain entirely. For most of its life, the largest animal for hundreds of miles had nothing that could kill it. Its only enemies were time and weather. And eventually, something the continent had never met. People reached South America near the end of the Ice Age, and the window between their arrival and the vanishing of the giants was short. In the Argentine Pampas, about 2,000 years. There isn't a debate about whether those two events touched. At a place called Campo Laborde, out on the Pampas, the scattered bones of a single Megatherium were dug up among stone tools. The animal was butchered where it fell, dated to roughly 12,600 years ago. It is the only confirmed giant sloth kill site anywhere in the Americas. One hunt preserved in the dirt. Whether human spears finished the species off or only hurried along what a drying climate had already set in motion is still argued. What no one argues is that we were there at the end and that we ate them. The first Megatherium anyone in the world ever laid eyes on came out of the bank of the Luján River, west of Buenos Aires, in 1787. The skeleton was crated and shipped across the Atlantic to Madrid, where it still stands today. A young anatomist in Paris, Georges Cuvier, studied the find and recognized it for what it was, a giant sloth. The canopy animal of the New World, swollen up to the bulk of an elephant. And he caught the thing the bones were telling him. Nothing like it was alive anywhere. It hadn't wandered off to some unexplored forest. The animal was simply gone, in a way naturalists had barely believed was possible. This was one of the animals that taught the world extinction was real. That animal at the start, reaching into a tree nothing else could touch, is gone. The only place left to stand under it now is a hall in Madrid, looking up at the bones.